Okay, Aisha, let me know when you're ready. I think I'm ready
We're
now.
ready in 3, 2, I'll let you know.
Okay, all right, no problem. So at what point do I get to share my screen?
And we're live. You can share your screen now. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha, and thank you again for joining today's TEF Alumni Masterclass session. On the call with me is Mr. Babatunde Adenuga, the brand MCC United Capital, who will be taking us on how to turn our businesses into brands. Over to you, Mr. Babatunde. You're muted.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just quickly share my screen first and then um, uh, begin to speak. Okay, please confirm that you can see my screen now. Checking you. Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, from wherever it is you're joining us from across Africa. Um, my name is Babatunde Adenuga, and today I'll be sharing with you what it takes to turn your business into a brand. I'm sure you must have come across the statement, become a brand, brand your business, like in so many shapes and forms, right? But today we'll learn simple practical steps that we can move our business from just being a business that trades whatever product or service you render into something that is much more significant than just a commercial activity. And so our goal for this session is simple, straightforward. How do I make a brand out of my business, right? And so the session is subject to the practical guide. We'll try to be as practical as possible. I hope there might be questions at the end of the session and we can take that. So I'll just get into it very quickly. So what is a brand? How do we define a brand? What makes a brand a brand? Your product does not make your business a brand. Your service does not make your business a brand. In fact, your audience does not make your business a brand, right? Your brand is not your logo, is not your colors, it's not the combination of your colors, is not even your slogan. Now, those things are important in the process of brand building, but that's not your brand, right? One of the most important things about your brand is that your brand is the perception people have about your business when you are not in the room, when you are not selling, when you are not actively advertising. How do people perceive your business? What thoughts comes to their mind when they think of your business? That is the nexus of your brand, right? And so we say brand is a combination of five main things: your reputation, the experience you deliver, trust that customers and the marketing leaders in you, an emotional connection to your customers, and value delivered consistently. So you begin the process of brand building when you gradually grow a reputation, your customer experience, and what your customers can say about it. Now, you notice here that it's not positive or negative customer experience, it's just customer experience plain, right? Some businesses have built a brand for themselves where customer experience is king and they prioritize that. For some others, their reputation is that their customer experience is not great. and that leads to eroded trust, and there's not significant emotional connection, and then value is not delivered consistently, right? There's a there's a more aligned definition. Some I'll give here. Um, a brand is the intangible sum of a product's attributes. So the things that are the intangibles about your product or your service, so your name, packaging, price, history, reputation, the way it's advertised. Essentially, in our world, in brand and marketing, we say that a brand is the sum of all experiences consistently delivered. So, which is why when somebody does something consistently, you say, oh, they are building a brand out of XYZ, right? When somebody So, for example, in football, when Cristiano Ronaldo scores and he does the su, he has a particular celebration he does, that is the su, you can associate that with his brand. When Michael Jackson, for those of us that like Michael Jackson, he does the moonwalk, he has delivered that experience consistently. We associate that with him. The same thing with businesses. When a business consistently delivers a particular level of service or excellence, and do it a particular way, in a way that makes them different, we consider that the foundation of their brand before we even get to colors and logos and pictures and everything. So today I won't be telling you a lot about colors and all of those things. I want to discuss like the practical, simple ways where you can deliver these experiences. So, in simple terms, your business is made up of what you sell or what you deliver, what commercial value you add to the world. Your brand answers the question why people choose you. So, if you're ever confused about what makes a brand, just think about it. Um, what would you choose instead of this? That's your competitor. But what makes you choose me? Is That's where the answer for how should I go about brand, that's where the answer lies. So why does your business need a brand? So we get into this. Um, Most businesses compete mainly on price. In fact, most SMEs get into their segments on a need basis, and mostly is on the strength of price. We've seen a lot of pitch decks where the conversation is around, oh, I can do this cheaper than another person. I can do this. We can get to XYZ number of customers if we sell for cheaper, right? However, with a solid brand, businesses can compete on value and trust. And so I'm proposing to you today that your brand, when built well, is your ultimate differentiation factor. Is the ultimate differentiation. It is a significant UVP for you, unique value proposition, because it's not easy to replicate. People can beat you on price, they can beat you on service delivery. If you build your brand well, they can't beat you on brand, right? And a strong brand helps you charge premium prices where required. It gives you the moral standing to be able to charge if you want to premiumize your products. It helps you attract and retain loyal customers. It helps you stand out, stand different in competitive markets. And then it helps expand into new products. When a brand is solidified, that business can expand into so many different things as long as the central brand holds value. Then it helps you build business long-term value. So your product may be similar to your competitors, but your brand creates preference, right? Is the reason why in the CSD category, the carbonated soft drink category, people choose brand A over brand B. You choose Coca-Cola over Pepsi. And for so many things, you choose Nike or Adidas over the other. Like where there's strong competition, and when products are similar, what differentiates major businesses from one another is the strength of their brand, and that's what creates preference, right? So worked on this simple brand framework that just makes it easy for you if you make the decision today to grow your brand, scale your brand. Very simple, direct, simple framework that you can adopt. Now, and this is to answer the question, where do I begin? Right? Or, oh, we've started, but how do we continue? Right? For entrepreneurs, like everyone on the call, branding can be simplified into these basic 5 blocks. Purpose. To get to the foundation of your brand, you must identify, why does my business exist? Why does my business exist? Why do I do this? Why are we in business? Who are we in business for? Right? Those questions have to be answered. And usually, this is where most business. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
The internet went off on my end. Can you hear me
Yes,
clearly now?
yes, we can hear you clearly now. You're back. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. Um, I'm just trying to pull back my screen. Sincerely apologize. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, but it's currently blank. Okay, yes, it's up now.
Okay. Okay, we're here. Right. Okay, so Aisha, can I go on?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes. So we were on promise, and I sincerely apologize again for that glitch. Yeah, so we were on promise. Now, your promise speaks to the value that your customers can expect from you every time. Um, your brand promise, your business promise is, if it is, I will deliver coffee to XYZ people in this manner, that forms a promise. And that's the experience on the strength of which your brand will be judged, right? Not a beautiful advert, not a beautiful flyer, not a beautiful creative, but the experience that your promise upholds. Now, next after promise is positioning. How is your business positioned to be different? What makes your business different? And it's those questions that you can answer. So in a sea of competitors, in a cesspit of different kinds of similar businesses, what makes your business significantly different from the next? And then there's perception. What do customers believe about you now? And what do you want them to believe about you in the near future? Right. And so in workshops like this, we ask founders to write down, how do you want a customer review about your business to sound, right? What do I want my customers to think about when they think about my business? Oh, and we all have experienced it. We have experienced a business that failed on its promise, or a business that is unclear on positioning, or a business and for these reasons, the perception is totally sometimes terrible, right? Now, your personality is where a lot of us focus on. Um, so when we think about colors, when we think about the tone of voice and all of that, it's just one of the different things that make up a brand. And that's the brand persona, the brand personality. So how does the brand show up? How does the brand behave? How does the brand communicate? How does the brand look? In simple terms, is asking, if my brand was to show up at a dinner, what will it be wearing? Right? Yeah, and that helps you see the vibe of your brand, helps you see the age of your brand, the kind of business you are offering. And because you don't fully pick your brand, your audience have a lot to how you serve your audience or how you aim to serve your audience has a lot to do with how your brand is fully designed, right? But when these five things are aligned, purpose, positioning, personality, promise, and perception, you have a solid framework to begin the work of building your brand. Now, beyond building, beyond starting to build, if you already have an established brand, a mid-established brand, this background is also critical. Just understanding that, oh, purpose is important, positioning is important, the brand promise is important, the perception of the brand now and in the future is important, and the personality that deals with the public-facing aspect of the brand is important. When these five are aligned, your brand begins the journey to becoming powerful. Yeah. So I will then get into the things that are even more practical. 10 things that you can immediately do to transform your business into brands. Now, I imagine, particularly when this topic was chosen, that all of us have solid businesses. The challenge at hand is how do we scale the hurdle from moving from business to brand, right? And in these 10 steps, or one of these 10 steps might answer that. So you begin with purpose, like I explained earlier. And I'll give some global brand examples and maybe some African ones. You must have a clear sense of mission and answer the question, why do I exist? Right. And it's beyond, so this is beyond purchasing, this is beyond products. So Tesla, for example, answers this question by saying that they are accelerating global sustainable energy. Yeah. They In this response, they are not mentioning their vehicles, they're not, but their goal, their mission, their purpose is to accelerate sustainable energy. And so the big question has to be answered by every founder. Why does this business exist? Then you define your brand promise. I did talk about it. Amazon's promise is centered around convenience and customer obsession. So they are obsessed about the customer. And so they exist in the lifetime of the customer. So in fact, their logo is A to Z, right? So what you find on their logo is A to Z. And so they are big on the customer. What does the customer want? How can we serve him? And so at every point in time as a brand, customers should know exactly what they will get from you at every point in time. Right after that, like I mentioned earlier, there's the need to focus on consistency. Brands are built through consistent experiences. For example, McDonald's delivers the same experience globally, and this is across a chain of more than 200,000 unit stores globally. The same taste, the same everything, the same colors, the same behavior, the same kinds of waiters, the same ambience globally. There are hospitality brands that smell exactly the same way in every city they exist in, right? So consistency helps you build trust, differentiation, and recognition. Your products should stay consistent. Your service should stay consistent. That in itself is a solid foundation for brand building. Then, excuse me, then tell your story. Stories humanizes businesses. There's the example of Airbnb, and I'm sure we're all familiar with this. They grew their service into a sense of belonging. And so the Airbnb story is just stating that anywhere you are, you have a sense of belonging. You have home anywhere. So you can make stories out of your bare existence as a business. And your story covers why you started, your journey as an entrepreneur, the problem you are solving, people that use your service, customers that use your service, their stories, right? How you serve the world. So whatever element is what's discussing with the next person is what's sharing with the world. And so brands must share their story. And we'll get to how in very, very soon in the next few slides. Deliver exceptional customer experience. Your real brand is the experience and perception that customers have. It's not what you have designed. It's not what you say you are. It's the experience they get. People always remember how you make them feel. The best brands go beyond being functional, but drive emotional connection. To build a solid brand, you need to get beyond the functional business definitions. So a functional business it can do the basic thing it says it can do, right? And people buy for different reasons. One of the topmost reasons why people buy is when they find a sense of emotional connection with that business. They would even purchase from that business, even if it is significantly more expensive than another, right? Being functional is being available, getting the work done, right? But users, buyers, customers want to see an emotional connection. They want to feel seen. They want to feel understood. So even when you are designing product market fit, there's an important level where it meets the sweet spot for the customer. The customer needs it, they can use it, and they feel special by using it. They feel seen by using it. They feel valued by the kind of service that they are receiving, right? And so delivering exceptional customer experience is an important element of brand building. I need to say at this point that experience in the brand building sense is multifaceted, right? And for example, there are 4 different kinds of experiences any business at all can deliver. There's the employee experience that is about your employees, how you make your employee feel, how you treat them. Your employees are your ultimate brand ambassadors. So there's employee experience as one. There's a product experience. How does your product serve them, right? And then there's the customer experience, which is how do they feel using your services? And then there is the brand experience, right? So beyond all of this, what meaning is your brand, is your engagement? What meaning is it conveying to the world? Yeah. The number 6, build visibility. The good book says that you should not have light and put it under a bushel. It's of no use to no one. If people don't see your business, they won't remember it. Yeah, visibility builds credibility, it grows familiarity. In FMCG marketing, we say that mental availability drives physical demand. So there's a reason companies spend a lot of money to do out of home advertising, to do broadcast advertising, to be wherever you are. Please, Aisha, can you confirm that you can hear me now?
Hi, yeah, again. Hello, can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, where did you hear me last? What did you hear last? Sorry. Hello,
Yeah,
Aisha.
this build visibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I was explaining that if people don't see your business, they won't remember it. Visibility is an important lever for driving familiarity.
Okay, now.
Okay, it's an important element for driving familiarity, for driving credibility. Mental availability supports physical demand. the more mentally available your business is, the more customers are likely to create demand out of it, right? So you get demand in the door when mental availability is available. Your customers, your people, they want to know that you are credible, and that credibility is driven by some level of visibility. So even if it's at a low form, right? Visibility is important for how you grow your brand. After having a solid experience, the next most important thing that your business should have is a proper visibility framework. Visibility and distribution. So the ability to point people to your great service, and then the ability to make that service available to them. So that's visibility and distribution. Visibility is covered by advertising, promotions. Availability is covered by actual product availability. So it's mental availability and product availability. So, and we emphasize this because businesses go on and drive visibility, and they get a lot of knocks on their door, and they don't have the capacity to deliver on the strength of that visibility. So always be prepared to match your mental availability with your ability to deliver to the kind of audience that you're looking to serve. This is for those that are just building that, or that have just started trying to build the brand. It's important to specialize first. Strong brands, even strong personal brands, dominate one space first. There is one thing, and if you go back to purpose, there's one thing that you are uniquely positioned to do better than others. There's one thing, there's a linear opportunity that you can harvest better than others. And so that focus creates brand clarity from the beginning. It's important that you identify your one thing as a business. It's the concept of essentialism, understanding that I can do this better than most, right? And then aim to dominate that. Even our founder, Mr. Tony Elumelu, ensured that he dominated the banking sector first before he then ventured into other aspects of the economy. So your brand should be known for one thing, that if it comes to one thing, you are at least number one in one thing, even though you are in a line of multiple businesses, right? It's important for brands, and this is for brand clarity. At the onset, when you are just beginning, it is not advisable to ring around many circles. It's better to get deeper in one line of clear specialization. That is important. Starbucks built their authority around the coffee experience, and Nike built their authority around athletic shoes, even though they have a lot more things in their coffers. Different businesses, even like in Nigeria, there are several examples of businesses. We see service businesses, fintech. They build their experience around one thing, they perfect that, and then they scale across others. This is important when you are building your brand. Protect your reputation. Trust is the biggest brand, is the strongest brand asset you can have, right? People knowing that you are reliable is more important than several customers buying from you. Yeah. The sense of trust, the sense of reputation for a brand is non-negotiable, right? Which is why we know some brands for certain things. For example, Toyota is known globally for reliability, and this reputation compounds over time. Like I said earlier, is a series of consistent experiences delivered, right? And that's what drives your reputation. So reputation is an important brand element, and it should be protected by every means. Then build a community. Strong brands have loyal communities. I'm sure almost everyone, if not everyone on this call, is an African, and we know the Afrobeat top four. I extended it to top four because there's the South African lady now. All of them, from Burna Boy to Davido to Wizkid, they built an active community that supports them, that advocates for them, and they move with them, right? They even have names for them, right? So your business can also cultivate a community of loyalists, right? The strongest brands that we know, they all have a community of die-hard fans. If you take it into sports, you see how football fans follow football, basketball fans, tennis fans follow brands that they feel connected to. And community is built by connection, right? And we'll get to how that can be achieved. But it's important that you note that building community is an important must do when you're trying to build a brand or when you're trying to move your business from just buying and selling or delivering a service into having a recognizable brand that can scale. So community creates loyalty and advocacy even when you're not there. There's a particular Nigerian fintech that deals in the savings and wealth tech space. Till today, they have no contact center by phone. You can only write them. And that's because they are extremely sure that they are delivering great services. That's one. Secondly, even when they falter, their community advocates for them. They can excuse them sometimes. Oh, I know these people. They will need this is so they can speak for them, they can vouch for them. And that's an important, very important layer, particularly when you are starting out with not a lot of capital. Communities can grow, especially how you position yourself to grow with your communities. Important. And then number 10, think long term. Brand building is a long-term investment. It's not, it's not something to start and stop, right? It's something that should continue consistently. Coca-Cola, for example, has built, and these are global examples, and I'm sure you can see examples in your local environment of businesses that have built long-term equity for a long time. So there's so much mental availability that even when the name is not written on a material, even when they are not even advertising, you can see a bottle and tell that, oh, this is the Coca-Cola bottle. You can taste and say, oh, this is Coca-Cola. Is equity built over many years? You have trust that when you open it, you are consuming something that will not harm you, right? So it's extreme equity built for a long time. Right. So brands are not built overnight. If you have started already and you are trying and you feel like it's not working, your audiences will grow because businesses build brands. When built, a brand can compound, and it can compound your business's ability to grow, scale, and live. Like I said earlier, your brand is a major differentiator. So you build it well, you get the best results for it. Now, just before I wrap up, I would like to walk us through the 4 C's of branding for SMEs. And I said I was going to explain this. If you forget the 10 moves, and this presentation will be available for everyone who joined the session, I guess, through the TEF team. If you forget that, you can always easily remember the 4C framework, which is build a community, grow content, right? And I'll explain each of them. Use channels, and then translate that into commerce. So community, I just explained, it's important to build a loyal audience around your business. Now, your audience is different from your customer. Your customer is somebody who is already doing business with you, who has made a first purchase and all that. Your audience is everyone you can possibly reach with your service. So, and this can include your followers on social media, your advocates, your friends, your family, and it will keep growing bigger. But the ability for anybody to understand that, oh, you are doing something and they are part of it and they actually feel a part of it, makes them part of your community. Now, the second important thing is content. Content is how your brand educates, is how your brand inspires, is how your brand attracts customers, right? And content exists in multiple formats. So you can begin to, if you are not already doing so, you can begin to understand and think from the customer. What does my customer want? Never from the brand. No. Your customer is actually your chief marketing officer. You think from the customer. Oh, what would my customer like to see? What is important for my customer? What will educate my customer? What will inspire my customer? what will these customers see? And then for that reason, stay stuck with me, right? And there are several examples by which this can happen. So there are social media posts, you can create educational videos, you can embark on storytelling exercises, you can drive thought leadership. It could even be from a personal brand point of view, but content builds trust and authority. Then there are channels. So community content channels. For channels, these are the platforms where your customers meet your brand, and you need to identify them, right? Um, you should meet your customers where they are, not the other way around, right? You choose the channels where your customers already use. Now, and these channels are not limited to just social media platforms. So there's social media, there's your website. Your website is like the digital representation of your business. There's the physical stores, there are exhibitions, there's WhatsApp, for example, there are marketplaces. Anywhere your customer is, that's where you should be positioned. And these things should be seen as channels. Typically, after a while, you audit your channels. Which one is working? Which one is not working? And so what we naturally advise is that you scale up what's working, and then you correct what's not working and see what you just need to sustain, right? But within the channel, the experience that the customers get is expected to be optimal. And so that should be your important goal. But important for you to remember that you don't expect your customers to meet you where you are. You go to where your potential customers will likely play. And then importantly, commerce. Every brand activity should translate into value creation. Now, that value may not immediately be sales, right? But there is a direct correlation between what you do with your brand and what could potentially bring significant revenue for you. See, marketing is a business function, and your brand experience must support revenue growth ultimately, maybe not immediately. That's why is beyond just, which is why it's beyond just the glossy things that you do with a brand, your colors, logo. It's beyond that. Is understanding that proper strategic branding can improve commerce. It can improve your commercial performance. Advertising, when done well, is supposed to make it easy for the customer to see you, find you, reach you, purchase from you, refer you, then come back again, right? So it's a long line of multiple activities that the customer can achieve on the strength of you being a proper, strong brand. And so your brand experience it should be designed in a way that supports revenue growth. It should not take away from you without giving back to you, right? Yes, and to support that is the everlasting 4 P's of marketing. And this way I would leave us, right? The classic marketing framework is the 4 P's. Everybody, whether you are delivering a product or a service, this is what we should all remember every time, because it's important that we understand this. Otherwise, we would have a fine-looking brand that is not effectively supporting business objectives, right? And now, many of us jump to promotion, right? We want to run ads, we want to drive visibility and all of that. Great. While that is great, it follows a flow, right? And it is product, price, place, promotion. This is just to summarize what I was explaining earlier. Your product is the most important thing. It is what you sell. It is the thing, is the solution you are bringing to the world, right? It must solve a clear problem. So your product is number one in the framework. You must check, does my product work? Is my product needed? Does this product fit this market? It is in that way. Price is the second thing. How much will people pay for this service? Because pricing communicates more than just fiat exchange. Pricing communicates value, it communicates positioning. Oh, how are you priced? Pricing itself requires a strategy, right? And that is important if you want to drive the commercial gains of a growing brand. Then place. Where would your customers buy your product? Are you delivering it online? How does that look? How is that? So you now get into the things around the functional branding. So if the place in your 4P, in your framework is online, then how does this online platform look? What welcomes them? How are the words written, the copywriting, all of those things important? Or is it a physical store, right? If it's a physical store, how are we presenting to the world? Or are you doing it through distribution partners? All of that, it must be answered again in order to drive the element of commerce, because it will be an effort in futility if you do everything right and you don't get the commercial benefits of a growing brand. Then after product price and place is sorted, and you are sure that you have a product that is fit for the market and that is solving a clear challenge, and you have the right pricing, pricing that communicates your commensurate value, and you have the right platform, the right place where customers can find you, then we can now get to promotion. In advertising, we say one of the things you can do to kill a bad product is by advertising it well, right? When promotion is done well, it can promote your business. In fact, that's the origin of the word promotion. Yeah, it will attract customers. If the background is not ready, then you create a broken link and customers, it just creates the ripple effect where customers become irate. Irate customers don't trust your brand. They then go on and say unprintable things about your brand, and that can have adverse longer-term effects on your brand, right? So promotion is the final phase. When these 4Ps are aligned, your business is bound to grow faster. In fact, knowingly or unknowingly, if you get the 4Ps and the 4Cs right, you are smack right in between growing a brand, right? You just may need to add storytelling, a few things that are more visual, a few things that are more purposeful. But the basis of developing your brand is the old classic 4Cs and 4Ps. So for 4Cs, you grow your community, you create content that can educate, inspire, and attract your customers. You do so with the right channels, and then you aim for commercial value, right? And to achieve this, you must have defined your product or your service that ensures that it's solving a clear challenge. And then you speak to the price. You understand that your pricing is commensurate to the value you are bringing to the market. You are not underpricing, you are not overpricing, you are the right price point for your market. And then place is fixed, whether it is online, whether it's a physical store, whether it's through partnership, whether the experience is delivered in person, whatever that is, needs to be properly done. And then we get to promotion, which is how we communicate, attract, engage, ensure that we have repeat customers. If any of this is broken, we stand the chance of having a brand that can potentially fail. So in wrapping up, I mentioned here that products can be copied, prices can be beaten, strategy can be reproduced, redesigned, but a strong brand is very difficult to replicate. A strong brand is your ultimate value proposition, right? Businesses create transactions, but brands create loyalty, and loyalty is what builds lasting success. Recall that if you don't have customers, then you don't have a business. Now, if you don't have a solid brand that can bear the growth of your business, then you still don't have a business. And so if you are not already doing so, you can begin the journey to growing your brand. If you're already doing so, please do not relent. Continue to grow it steadily, easily. And whilst you have your logo, whilst you have the things that make your brand from a visual point of view, please also focus on some of the things we've spoken about in this presentation that can drive emotional, mental availability, that can drive a connection to the customer. Those things are the actual foundations. They are the simple things to get out of the way when building a brand before you then get all the way to promotion. But just always remember, a strong brand is very difficult to copy. It's very difficult to replicate. It's a differentiating factor. Yeah, because almost every other thing in business can be easily reproduced if you have the right people, if you have the right strategies in place. But a strong brand, a solid brand, a growing brand is so tough to replicate, and brands are valuable. Yes. So thank you very much. I'll stop here. Aisha, you can take over now.
I thank you very much for the session. Let me go over to YouTube to see what people are saying. Someone says, I think pricing is what I need explained the most. How do I strike a balance between being overpriced and being underpriced so as not to look greedy? You're muted, yes.
Okay. So I can go ahead and answer them one by one, right? All right. Yeah.
Yes, and then as more questions come up, I'll let you know.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So, so pricing requires a strategy, right? And your pricing strategy is a combination of three things. Your service, and this is how customers think about a price, right? Price of anything. What is the service? What value do they attach to it? And then who is delivering it? Is the reason why certain brands can command more for the same service, right? Is simply what is the service and what is the world around that service or the product. So that's where you do all the comparisons. What's competition? What are they selling at? What is the going rate for this? What is like all of that? That's level one. What is the product and what is the market? What is the category around the product? The next is the next is the value they attach to it, right? So do I need this now? Is the reason why the same products can move into different spaces and cost significantly more. So for example, a bottle of water on a normal day can be for just as an example, can be 100 naira, right? But when it's extremely hot, and demand and supply can affect it, when it's extremely hot and it moves into a different space where water is required, then it can go slightly higher. So the value that people attach to that commodity at that time is an important factor that affects pricing. I mean, we live, for example, in Nigeria, where at a point, I think even till now, people pay to withdraw money, so money is commoditized. So again, it depends on the value and sometimes convenience. So this value, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can. This value.
Okay, so this value is dependent on the is dependent on what the customer puts a premium on at that point in time, right? So if the customer puts a premium on convenience, then the value can increase. If the customer puts a premium, for example, on expertise, the value can increase. And it brings me to the third point. Who is delivering it? How is the brand perceived? So same piece of wristwatch can, again, it's just checking the time. But if you go brand on brand all the way to Amadeus Piguet, the prices are different, right? So is a perception of quality. Pricing sometimes can be down to a perception of quality. And that perception of quality is a brand function. How is your brand position to charge better, right? Who is delivering the service? What value does the customer put on it? And then what is the service itself? Those are some of the things that drive pricing. If you can answer this question and be true to yourself, then you will know when you are overcharging and you can properly restructure your business to ensure that that is not the case. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. There are a lot of messages about thank you. There's an interesting one here. can we relocate so we can create a community for our products? Did you get the question?
Can you relocate so you can create a community for your products? So first, your community can be created anywhere, but your community should be made up of people who genuinely use and appreciate your service, right? They may not even use, sometimes your product can be aspirational and they aspire to use it. Is there a need to relocate? If required, right? If required. However, you can create online communities for your business. You can have simple meetups, right? So if your customers or if a good part of your community exists in a city where you don't live, you maybe not necessarily need to relocate, but you can organize something that brings them together, right? So there are so many ways for you to think around it, yeah. But you can immediately explore online means, right? Create a Telegram group, create a WhatsApp group that continues to promote your business. Have meetups, right? Create user testing parties, maybe not even parties, like just things that can bring your community together. You can even create content from it, and then you can continue to grow and scale from that point of view. Yeah.
All right, so we'll take the next question. This person says, thank you for the lecture. Can you differentiate between a loyalist and a customer? I'm not sure what that means. And please relate it to school business. So I'm guessing they own a school and they're asking you to differentiate between loyalists and customers.
Okay, so let's explain it this way. Every time somebody engages your business, they are a lead. I'm sure we're all familiar with that. So it begins with lead. So somebody makes an inquiry, so they're a lead. A first time. Now, before anybody even becomes a lead, they might have been your audience. So they just exist in the population. They know, then they find your business, then they become a lead. After lead, they become first-time customers, right? Your customer is anybody that you owe your service or your products because they are paying for the service. Now, after that, you then get advocates, people who like your product so much or your service so much, and they are sure that they can recommend this anytime to anybody, anywhere. They become advocates, right?
Hello, Babs, can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. All right, Babs, you're back. Yeah, we lost you for a second.
Okay, so I was explaining that that's one difference between the customer and the loyalist. Now, right after advocates are your loyalists. These people, so in the school example, for example, a loyalist is anybody who is sending not just themselves or their kids, anybody they know. If they think of a school, you are the only one they are thinking of. A loyalist has eliminated other forms of competition from their mind regarding that business or service that you render. They are not even going to consider it. So at this point, that's gotten to almost fandom, right? And some brands actually have fans. Some brands have loyalists. In the school example, to be honest, I don't know how to properly place it for a school setting, but just from understanding that the business of a school is passing knowledge, they will only want to get knowledge through your own organized means, right? So if it's a school for children, they'll send all their children there. They will recommend to everybody they know to send their children there. If they have the opportunity for a scholarship, they want to use it with your school, like in that sense, right? So that's how I would think about it. But yes, Customers can become advocates, advocates can become loyalists. And the ultimate goal is to have as many loyalists as possible. People who eliminate competition in their mind about the service that you render. They only want to use you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There's another question that says, is it possible for other people or for others to set your brand? Because I hear these days that people say, that companies say that somebody else is working on their brand. So I guess they're asking if third parties can work on their brands for them.
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. Yes. But they must work with you to answer these questions. Yes, absolutely. A third party can work on your.
Apologies, please unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah. So I was explaining that, yes, absolutely, third party can work on your brand, just like you can hire an accounting agency to work on your finance. You can hire a business consultant to partner with you on your business. You can hire a brand consultant, a brand agency to support how you think about building your brand, right? So they can guide you, yes. Someone else can work on your brand, but they need to work with you. Because you see those questions I asked earlier, you are in a unique position to answer those questions. So only you can, and they have to work with you to ensure that they answer those questions on your behalf. And then ultimately, they can create something that the world can appreciate about your brand. Yeah. So yes, a third party can work on your brand. Yeah. And please pay them well.
Okay, let me see if we have other comments. Thank you very much. How can I retain the loyalist? This is from the same person who asked the school business question. How can I retain loyalists?
Oh, fantastic question, by the way. Yes, you retain your loyalist number one by keeping the same experience or elevating the experience that brought them. That's number one. That's the most important thing to a loyalist. You see, when the person has become a loyalist, it's not a price thing, it's a service thing, it's how you make them feel. So by keeping the same experience is the number one most important way to keep a loyalist, right? Don't let them turn off because you are making too many changes or because you cannot match their experience level any longer. Then the other secondary things, so you from time to time offer them discounts, you spotlight them, you sometimes personally appreciate them. At the moments that matter for them, the brand shows up for them. E.g., you can give gifts, right? Brands give gifts a lot. You can give, so those things are secondary. But the most important way to retain a loyalist and avoid boycott from a loyalist is to maintain the experience that brought them in the first place. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Babs, for I think that will be our last question. Thank you very much for your time, for sharing in your vast knowledge and experience. Do you mind giving us one last closing remark before we move on to the next session?
Okay. I just wanted to say that if you forget anything, please don't forget the 4 C's of building your brand and the 4 P's of marketing, right? They are is the holy grail. Is how practically every business in the world thinks about growing their brand. Yes, and I'm personally rooting for all the entrepreneurs, rooting for you all. I'm sure you succeed. And yes, I'm sure that you begin, if you have not already done so, the process of growing your business from just a business into a solid brand that we can all look back and be proud of. Thank you very much for having me again. Yeah, bye.
All right. I can see that there are still more questions in the chat box. However, these questions can be taken by Fego when it joins. So now I thank you very much again, Babs. Thank you so much. We will be having Fego speak to us on tips on how to take good pictures, good professional pictures, especially for our business. And then he can answer the other questions that we have. Thank you very much. Now over to you, Fego.
Hi, can you hear me, Aisha?
Yes, clearly. I can see
Hi.
you and I can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ogenefego Paul Abadi. I'm a corporate photographer, and a documentary expert. Um, I'm just here to share a few tips. Sorry, Aisha, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry, give me a minute. A minute. How about now?
No,
Aisha,
not yet.
give me a minute. Alright.
Okay, while Fego is trying to figure out sharing his screen, you can keep dropping your questions in the chat box and we would take your questions as we go on. Thank you. Thank you too. Very informative session. Thank you. All right, Fego, now we can see your screen.
All right, everyone, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, we can see you, and we can see your screen
All
as
right,
well.
thank you very much. Sorry for the breaking transmission. So yes, let's just dive into it. First things first is, introduction of, what and how and, how we can, help our, brand photos and take very good images, when it comes to our brand. So the first question I always want to ask, or I would like you guys to ask yourself when, trying to create your brand images and your brand content generally, when you search for your name online, what does your photo say about you, generally professionalism, confidence, personality and expertise. And your photos are actually your brand images or your brand videos are one of the things that can take your brand to the next level. And this now brings me to the point where you have to be intentional, the way you set up your environment, the way take your photos and the quality of what you put out. Most times I hear people that do product or sell product online, I hear people say, oh, what I ordered versus what I got, most times it might not be your fault. It might just be the fact that you've, tried to manipulate that image to look a bit different, maybe color wise, and these are some of the things we need to look at when we are, putting out our content when it comes to photography or videography. I'll just dive in to give you like few tips on how, you can make your images better, One of the things about brand images I can tell you for free is you can take photos with anything. You can actually create content with your phone, but you have to be intentional about it. Slide 2 here says personal branding and how people, perceive you. You know, I could remember one time I, spoke to someone, 'cause someone asked me a question about, why are people not, you know, viewing my content? The question came from the angle of the same thing I just said first, which is when I order something, why when you deliver it is a different color versus when, So it brings me to the point where, for example, if you are selling a slippers, for example, and the color is brown. So when you put it in some of these editing softwares and you try to make the product better, you have to look at your colors, you have to look at, the shape of the image and all that, because sometimes when you increase the light, the color might change. What's it called? When you put try to add some FZ to the image, like filters. I always advise people not to add filters to their images because it just changed the entire image and the background, and it becomes a problem. Um, Coming into your visual identity, you need to be able to set a template for yourself, that works for you. And when I say a template that works for you, you might be taking the content of a bag and your background is white and maybe your product is. So you just need to find a way to balance colors most times when you try to take your content as well. It's very important that you look for like the best environment because, for example, you are using a phone to take a content and you want to be able to, tell the story of your brand properly. You have to figure out things that will blend the color of your product so that it doesn't look too distracting. The background is not too, um, it's not drawing the background is not drawing more attention than your actual product, because that way it becomes a problem. But people start asking, what are you actually selling in, the product? Over time, I feel like once you have that template, it becomes easy for you to be able to pass a message. Your image actually is a visual representation of your brand. At the end of the day, we can come into a place and ask for a product, and when we are going back out, we don't get the feel of what we've seen in the images. That's some of the problems we can have when we don't put out good images for our brand. Um, I will I would say for once, clarifying your brand message is very important. For example, before taking a photo, those are the key questions you should ask yourself. What do people want to, feel or see from me? Um, what, industry am I in? And what type of personality do I want to show? For example, profession, coach, if you're a coach, you need warm and, approachable, content or yeah, you need warm and appreciable content. So when you're trying to put out content, your lighting, your, environment should be very, confident. As an entrepreneur, you should be able to sell your vision. As a creative, bold, and expressive, as a corporate professional, clean and polished. Some of these images you can see on the slide are images that represent, that this is fashion brand, this is like a bank card, advert, and the last image is also like a fashion brand as well. You need to be direct when you are setting up. I I also feel like most times we try to do too much and we don't pass the right message when it comes to our brand images. You should also look at your lighting properly. What are you trying to sell? What are you, what is the message, the end goal of you trying to create anything out of the content with the minimal equipment you have. Like I said, Apple and Samsung have actually made cameras very, improved, that we can use it, to create very good content. I wouldn't advise sometimes set up to break the bank, Yes, if you have the funds to get the right gears, why not? If not, but if you want to start shooting with your phones, you need to be able to know and understand lighting very well. So for example, I'm in a dark room and I just have one light source, which is my window. It gives me, so I had to draw my object or my subject to the window so that I can get very good lighting. It also helps me understand the room, because if I go into a dark place, I'll have to look for like the nearest light source so that I can, take my better photos actually. Choosing the right location for your shoot is very important. Like I said earlier, and some of these images are examples of choosing the right location or trying to pass a message. You can't allow you have to avoid cluster backgrounds and distractions elements. You can see how this image, looks on the presentation. It's just the bank logo and the subject. This can go into any campaign, such as in motivation, Monday motivation post. This can fly, for a Monday motivation post in your social media page. When I talked about lighting, this slide actually, shows how lighting can help your image, because you see I put my principal close to the window, because that's where the light source is, and it gave the image a better feel. Um, these are like some of the key points when it comes to, lighting. Like I just said, natural windows, avoid overhead, avoid overhead shadows, and shoot during morning or evening lights. Sometimes when you have a product like a fashion shoot in the beach, I think you should put your timing to from 4 p.m. to like 6 p.m., because that's the period where you get the best lighting, for your shot. Yes, like I said before, windows can act as a free professional light, and when you cut your box and you're trying to shoot maybe a bead or something, putting your box close to the window and having the natural light helps your product. I will move to the next slide. So this next slide is about composition and rule of thirds. Rule of thirds is something that we should learn in when we take our product, because sometimes if you look at the rule of third photo, you see that the subject is very, they are like 9 boxes. And in these 9 boxes, I've been able to place my subjects in 4 of the boxes. And I've been able to leave a space for storytelling, or if I want to add text to my adverts. So that's why where you see the traffic lights, you can add text to it. Then if you look at the other image by your, by your right hand side, it's an event, and when you look at the picture and you look at the title on the other side of it, you see that, I've been able to pass a message that this is the event that the photo was taken, from. Type of photos that you should take sometimes. If it's a subject, if it's a person, headshots, half body shot, full body shots, and lifestyles action shots. When I say action shot is, for example, you are taking a model that is modeling for a dress, a clothing line, or a bag, Um, you can sell both. You can sell both, and you can sell both maybe shooting them on the streets, looking for like a vintage, environment to, sell that kind of product. It helps you also create facility for your website and your social media page. Then simple editing tools and tips. So when I mentioned earlier in my when I was speaking about how you put a product online and it doesn't depict what the client is actually receiving at the end of the day. So these are like the few things you should actually tweak when editing and watch out or look out for. Brightness is very important, because sometimes when you increase the brightness of an image, it becomes too white, and your image has actually changed color. It has actually changed how it actually originally looks. Your contrast is another thing. Your color, this color balance is very important when it comes to your product. When putting out something that you shot with your phone, you should watch your color, because most times using those filter can change things, and it doesn't now help your brand in a way, because people now say, oh, you are fake because you are you're trying to edit the image to look better, but you have lost the actual originality of your image. Yeah? The word is originality. You should try and stay very close to what you shot. So that way people don't, see you as a scam, at the end of the day. You see, like I said, avoid heavy filters and over smoothing skin. So for example, this over smoothing skin is, you are dealing with like a skincare brand or something. Sometimes the skin might be too smooth for people not to believe in the brand. I advise most times that edit, but don't edit too much. In fact, that's the start and end of what the thing is. Edit, but don't edit too much. Don't make your product look funny. That's what it is. Um, so for softwares that can help you, I'm sure some of us are familiar with CapCut. CapCut is like one of the biggest softwares that you can use to edit your video. Then Premiere Rush is on, you can get them on your iPad if you have the tab, because that helps you edit end-to-end videos. If you need to edit videos, these are like the softwares you should. For photos, there's Caption One, there's Lightroom, and there's Photoshop. For most people, they just need maybe Caption One or Lightroom. But for people that have to now, cut backgrounds or add text to it, most times, I advise that Photoshop is like the best tools to use. And for phone videos, in fact, there's a very good software that, people have actually been using of late. It's called Blackmagic Cam, because most times, for example, you want to shoot a mini documentary with your phone landscape, and you need to get to a place where you are able to color grade your videos to come out better. Blackmagic Cam has like the best video setting when you want to shoot raw videos and now color grade them after. Yes, I think that is all from me. Thank you guys very much, and I'd like to hear questions, and I'm here to attend to your questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Fego. I will give them, because in the live session, we'll give them about 30 seconds to catch up, and then we can start taking questions.
Yeah. And also, I'll share this document just in case I was too fast and while I
Oh
was
yeah,
speaking.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of reactions in terms of like love. Thank you, sir. I can see you. Thank you for the session. I don't think people have questions. I think it's also because you've said that you're going to share the slide, which is one thing that participants always ask of.
Okay.
So we'll be sharing the slides with
Right.
them after this session.
All right.
So let's just give like another 10 minutes and then, no, 10 seconds, and then would go on from there.
Yeah.
Okay, some more comments are starting to come in. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah. It's an amazing session. If you have any questions, please, how can I get the slide? We're going to send the slides to you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of thank yous. So let's give a bit more time for more reactions to come in. Okay, I think that would be it. We don't have any questions other than asking for the slides, which I already said we will share after the session. Thank you very much, Fego, for your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and for sharing the tips with our TEF alumni and entrepreneurs. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. See you at the next masterclass session in 2 weeks. Enjoy the rest of your day. Fego, would you like to give a closing remarks? You're muted.
Can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, so some of the things I'd like to say, I'm not. So some of the things I'd like to say basically is it's very important that we try as much as possible to keep, improving in our, skills of storytelling and, putting our brand out there, because it's very important to be authentic when you put stuff out there, and also just keep upgrading your gears if need be, because this business is a business where you have to show the brand in a proper way, and you have to always keep going up the level of what you put out there. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. I think it's all just again reactions that we're still getting from participants. So at this point, we would like to end the session. Enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day.